Last but not least, our final guest speaker, of the co-founder and Red Blue Blur Ideas, who will enlighten us with evolution of user interface and technology. Please give a warm welcome to Amol Kadam.
Sorry for the confusion in the title of the presentation. So I think they all say that things fall in place. So I think things have fallen in place. The slides that I have actually just concludes and puts everything together, that whatever we have learned over the period of last few hours today. I would like to thank Adil and the conference for inviting me here, and special thanks to Manal, because I have one slide where she defined innovation very well, and what I would like to do is take that forward and see how innovation and UX, as we know, user experience, these two are the same two sides of the same coin. And before I do that, let's figure out what innovation is. And if we break innovation down, the first part of innovation is actually inventing. Innovation starts with invention, right? So what is invent? Invent means you're actually doing something that has never done before. So that is invention. Then comes the next part, which is the iteration. But before that, if you look at, I don't know how many of you have seen this, definitely not used this. This was the first mobile phone ever. So in 1973, when Martin Cooper made that first call from Motorola using his, that time it was called mobile phone or cellular phone, that was the invention that he did. Not innovation yet. So that was the invention. If you look at the second part, which is called increment. Increment is where you improve upon what already exists. So what happened from 1973 till 2007, the mobile phones got smaller and smaller, smarter and smarter. So it started from the first edition that came out in 1975, the commercial one, to when Nokia and all these people kept on building on it. That was incremental. That was increment that happened throughout these years. Now, what is innovation then? We looked at invention, we looked at increment. What is invention? To innovate something is to do something significantly better. When did that happen? It happened in 2007, when iPhone came out. And that was an innovation because the technology that was there was already there. Everything else was there. What Apple did is it put everything together and innovated something that was completely different from what was already existing. So that's why I said thanks to Manal. So if you look at the definition of innovation, it actually has 3 points. One is what is desirable to users, what is possible with technology, what is viable in the marketplace. That actually makes the innovation. Now to the second side of the coin, UX. Now what is UX? Now this is where most of the myths are. What is UX? So let me define that. How many of you have used this? So this was Windows 3.1. To today, we have reached here. How many of you know this? This was world's first coffee machine. From here, we have reached here. How many of you know this? This was the first computer, or first series of computers that was invented. To this. From here, I still remember I used to walk around with one of these. From here to personal MP3 players or media players, we have reached here. This was the first Google in beta, if you see beta there, than when they started. And we have reached here. We all talk about Apple's design, but this was the first Apple website that was there. From there, we have reached here. So what's causing all this? Why this change has happened? Yes, the technology has improved. Things are easier to design and everything, but there has to be a bigger reason than that. You know what? The reason is nobody else but us. Because in all of us, there is a user. And the biggest reason this has happened is because of us, because of users. And if you look at our hierarchy of needs, so as users, we have needs. For everything that we do, we produce, any product, any service, it goes through these needs. So the first and foremost need is it has to be functional. Whatever it's supposed to perform a task, that task has to be completed by the product or the service that we are designing for our users. So that is the first need that we need to address. The second need, it has to be usable. Fine, it's doing its job. It's performing the task that it's supposed to perform. How is it usable then? And then, to top it all, it has to be pleasurable. It has to be nice and fun to use. And that, all put together, is user experience. Now, if you look at the usability part of it, it's only the middle layer, which is the usable layer. So, we looked at what is user experience, we looked at what is innovation, but when it comes to user experience, there are many myths. Before we go there, I have a small quiz for all of us. Take a quick of this, because I want all of us to solve this puzzle by the time we finish this presentation. So there are these numbers. One number is hidden by this parked car. These are the parking bays: 16, 06, 68, 88, and 98. Let's try and figure out what is the number that is hiding behind that. Yes, he's right. And when I show the different perspective, everybody will understand. So keep thinking and we'll come back to it. So let's address the first myth that we have. The first myth, we all think user experience is UI, is user interface design, isn't it? No, that is one of the biggest myths that is present in this market and globally as well. UX is not the UI. UI is just a delivery vehicle for the experience that you want to provide your users. It's just a delivery vehicle. I'll give you an example. Let's assume that this is your product. This is your content that you want to deliver to your users. And overall, that is the user experience that you want them to have. A nice meal or a breakfast that they are going to enjoy with paper or browsing their phone. So overall, that's the user experience. Then where is UI? UI is only the vehicle. UI is just the bowl and the spoon. It's just a vehicle that you actually design to deliver your product, your content, your service to your users. Now, if you look at UX overall, it has personas, it has user stories, user research, usability testing. One of the output of user experience process or the entire exercise are wireframes. And the wireframes actually inform your UI. So UI involves layout, visual design, branding, and that's about it. UI means that much. UX is a lot bigger than that. The second biggest myth that I personally have seen in this market is we all think UX is only digital. If you're talking about user experience, you must be talking about website or an app or a kiosk. No, user experience is actually a lot bigger than that. Using a coffee machine, how do you use it? How do you figure out where to put coffee and which button to press? That itself is a user experience. When you enter a branch, that again is part of user experience. And to prove that user experience is not only digital or it's not only limited to your websites and applications, when you go to Disneyland, that again a user experience that they have created to connect to their users. When you start looking for a flight, you start searching in Google, then you book your flights online, you go and travel, you go to the airport, you check in, you sit inside the flight, it's inside the aircraft, you browse their in-flight entertainment. That entire thing put together is user experience. It's not only digital. Third myth that I have seen, and you hear that a lot from a lot of people who actually innovate in the industry, saying that I know my users. I know this is what my users want. You can only assume, you can only imagine what your users want. You cannot be sure of your users and what they want unless you actually talk to them. There's a famous story, if you know, this is called Newton's cat door. Why? Because Newton invented. Newton, the great scientist, used to sit on his desk and used to be busy with his work, and his cat would always go and knock on the door, or because the cat wants to go out. Newton, being the scientist, he decided, I don't want to get up every time and open the door. Let me invent something, or let me create something where the cat can go out on its own. So he invented this cat door. Few months later, the cat had kittens. And as a very logical understanding the cat, what Newton did is he put another door next to it. Big door was for the cat, the small door was for the kittens. What happened? He started working, cat went out through the big door, and the kittens just followed her. So even the scientist like Newton cannot say that I understand the users of my product. So we are, nowhere to claim that. The last myth that I want to talk about is we think that UX is a step in the process. We think that I have a new product, I have a new service, I have a new website, new app, new service that I'm launching. Now I have done a few things, I want to do UX and then get on to something else. We think that UX is part of my process. Somewhere in the middle, I need to do UX. Call this UX designer or some freelancer or somebody I know, my friend's cousin does UX. Call that person, I want to get UX done. We forget that UX is not a step in the process. In fact, UX itself is the process. All along your product creation, your service design, everything that you're doing is actually you're creating a user experience. The new brand, the new idea that you have, that itself is a user experience. So UX is the process. And there are many processes available for UX. There is waterfall, there is agile, there is hybrid, there are so many different processes available. None of them is right, none of them is wrong. Whatever works best for the purpose that you are using it for, that's the process that you need to follow. Now, all of the processes have certain things in common. What you need to find out is these common things. All these processes will have research, they'll have problem solving, design, prototype and testing, iterations, and collaboration as the process. So as I said, innovation and UX are the two different sides of the same coin. Now, just to put it back together, so we looked at functional requirements, functional hierarchy of needs. Functional is the first step, usable and pleasurable. Now, if you look at it, technology is what makes it usable. Business is where the problem starts, you understand the problem, and that's where you address it. So that's the functional part, and the pleasurable design is what makes it pleasurable. Now, if you go back to the innovation model, what is desirable to users is the first element of for innovation, and that is actually the design. If you look at the second element, which is what is possible with technology, is the technology, right? And the third is what is viable in the marketplace is the business. This is innovation, that is user experience, and that's how they are just two different sides of the same coin. Now, I haven't forgotten, just wanted to show you this. You gave the right answer. It's just a matter of perspective, right? So all I'm saying is change perspective, know your users, and focus on the user experience. Innovation will follow. My name is Amol Kadam, and we are the first user experience consultancy firm in the region. Thank you so much.